UTS, like many other universities across the country and also the world, are seeing a dramatic increase in staff cuts, and in its place the instalment of casual workers. At UTS alone, 60% of tutors are casual, which means they are not entitled to sick leave, job security and many other benefits their full-time superiors are entitled to. The impacts of this don't just stop there, as casualisation of staff affects both the work ethic and standard of teaching, impacting not only the tutors' lives but also the quality of education received by students. As a result of this casualisation, the National Tertiary Education Union has been set up to combat and alter this current regime. So we decided to speak to both Simon Wade, branch president of the NTEU, as well as branch organiser Belinda Bison, to gain a greater insight about the issue and what the NTEU is doing to try and prevent it.
To paint a bit of a picture of casualisation, in Australian universities, about 60% of the teaching is done by 50% of the workforce being casual, so that's quite a significant statistic. And
UTS has
yes,
one of the highest.
UTS has one of the highest levels of casualisation.
Have we always been like that, or is that just something recently that UTS has become more casual?
Oh look, it's been a trend that's happened for at least the last 10 years. It's you know, it's a common picture across universities. And in terms of how that compares with the Australian workforce, approximately like around 20% of the Australian workforce is casual. So that's a much higher statistic than even in the broader workforce, but that is still significant.
Yeah.
And the kind of anecdotal evidence we're getting from members is things like you'll have an academic who has is responsible for a particular teaching program, perhaps, and has been continuously for a number of years. But they, on an ongoing basis, will not know if they're teaching that subject until the week before the semester begins. So, no time to prepare, and they're expected to be on top of these things. Their contracts end at the end of teaching, and then they have no ongoing employment during the holiday period. So you've got people who have no, continuing employment. They're expected to engage with the teaching program and with the student programs and things, with some sense of professional commitment, and yet there's no commitment returned to them in terms of their security and their involvement in the university. So you can see that makes their lives very tenuous, very uncertain. It's difficult then for them also to see how they can be expected to return some level of collegial, how do you describe this? You know, the idea that they're actually part of the institution. They feel like outsiders. They're called in when they need it, and then they just let go when they're not.
They're people who are very invested in their jobs. They see themselves as academics. They don't see themselves as casual academics, but the institution calls them casuals. And so I guess by that comment I mean that we're talking about staff who, they're committed to the institution. They want an academic career. So this rhetoric about flexibility and choice is really not the case for the majority of casuals, many of whom are women as well. So there's all kinds of impacts there, and it's just very important to realise that most casuals, they're very invested in their work, and they're just not being given the resources or the respect that they deserve.
With this much appreciated insight from both Simon and Belinda, we then set about asking students around campus their thoughts and opinions on the casualisation of staff at UTS, and whether or not they were aware that it is taking place, and if they feel it could be affecting their learning experience.
Yeah, I guess like really it's all about
the tutors, they wouldn't, this job wouldn't be like all about like, it's not all about like, it's not the centralized factor in their life. They would always be going and they wouldn't be like really pushing it, and so you'd probably get a decrease in the quality, overall quality of like education with them.
There's the possibility that they won't be as willing to put too much of their own time in if it's not full-time work.
Yeah.
So like emails, questions outside of class, extra time. So
Just be less
may not be available.
Yeah.
Available.
Well, if it's worse for the tutors, if they're getting paid less, or if it's less sort of entitlements, then it might decrease their passion for it, and so it might end up being a situation where they could have a lot of motivation to be a better tutor or to put more effort in, because of the casualisation, they're no longer interested, or we're not getting the best out of our tutors because they're not putting most of their effort in.
We're also busy because of the amount of workload that we have at university. It's kind of difficult to retain, like, most people work as well and have social commitments, so I guess it's not necessarily our fault we don't know, because it's not the kind of thing that you could actually tell people. But yeah, maybe we should do something about it.
I can't really think of anything off my head. There's obviously someone's got to like take forth to like the dean and stuff like that, and really discuss it with him and show some support. So maybe like, you know, petition or something like that.
I think that if maybe the tutors have an issue with it, then we should try this out. But I know that I would probably prefer to be a casual. So
Yeah, I think awareness should be raised, considering I haven't heard it. I've been at uni 2 years and I haven't heard that, or at least not a big deal has been made out of it. It seems as though no one's really taking notice. If it is a big deal, if the tutors make a fuss about it, then it certainly should be brought to the students' minds, purely because it's their education.
What we're starting to realise through our research so far is that casualisation of the tutor workforce in universities across Australia and around the world is actually a pretty not known factor. A lot of people seem to be under the impression that tutors want to be under casual rates because it suits their flexibility and their lifestyles, but what they don't seem to understand is that does have an effect on their educations. I personally believe that it's better for tutors to be offered full-time contracts, because if they have full-time contracts, then this is that teaching and being good tutors is the focus of what their job will be and what they'll be doing with their time. So they'll be more available and more prepared to offer you, their help and anything you really need. So it's been an interesting project so far, and I just hope that we can help raise the awareness levels of students in general across the world, because it's important. Our education's important, and university tutors contribute quite a lot to that.